Right now, I'm putting together a live rig. I'm going to perform songs from my albums and releases, and I want them to sound as close to the records as possible. And for that, I've acquired the Prophet X, and this is the perfect choice for me in that matter. It's a perfect device for assembling all my custom sounds, multi-samples. It has 2 sample engines, sample instruments, and 2 digital oscillators, so I can mix and match whatever I want. Up until this point, I've always sampled my gear manually, note by note, step by step. It's taken hours to assemble all my libraries. But there's one program I known from before, which I've never used, but I've been asked about it in comments for a long time now, and that program is SampleRobot, a program that promises to make the multi-sample process fast and easy. So today, I'm going to multi-sample a multi-layered, multi-velocity sound from the Yamaha TX802 to test this out. So let's go. And here we have the Yamaha TX802 FM generator, and I'm going to use the patch Rhodes in this exercise. This is a beautiful FM electric piano I really like. And I will sample the output of this Yamaha DMP7 digital mixer because I want that symphonic chorus coming out of the DMP7 mixer. It sounds quite noisy, but very beautiful. I'm not going to use the reverb from the DMP7, just the symphonic chorus. And this is me playing the TX802 over MIDI. As most FM patches, it's very sensitive and responsive to MIDI velocity. And here we are inside SampleRobot. I've just started up the program and I'm greeted with this project wizard. So let's see if we can just use this wizard to get this project going by creating a 4 velocity layer multi-sample patch of the TX802 electric piano, the Rhodes, into a Prophet X format, and to just import this into Prophet X afterwards as fast and easy as possible. A thing that would have taken me many hours if I wanted to do this manually, which I've always done in the past. But let's try SampleRobot now and see if it can deliver. So I'll just press next and see what happens. Okay, the recording mode, automatic recording, that's what I want. A MIDI instrument, which is the TX802, of course. I'm not gonna record any VSTs or something like this here. Automatic recording, MIDI instrument. Next. My project, let's call this, let's call it Test TX802 Electric Piano for Prophet X. And press next. And the data path. Just before I recorded this, I just made a map on a hard drive, which I've called SampleRobot Project. So I'm going to choose that as the data path instead of the default data path. And I'll press next. And the audio in device, and I'm using the Audient ID22 to record the outputs of the Yamaha DMP7, which are fed the TX802 electric piano, because I wanted to use that chorus on the DMP7. So I'm going to use the Audient USB audio ASIO driver here. Left and right channel default, which are okay. I assume that's going to be the analog 1 and 2 using the defaults here. So I'm just going to press next. And the sample format, well, I know that the Prophet X uses a 48 kilohertz 16-bit format, so I'm going to choose that. And let's go for next. And the MIDI out device, remember, SampleRobot will now play the MIDI notes I choose later, I guess, into the TX802, triggering that over MIDI. So I have to use my, in this case, my M Audio MIDI port, and I'm going out the MIDI port A here, so I choose that. Next. It's playing on, it's set up on MIDI channel 1, the TX802, so that's fine, MIDI channel 1. But SampleRobot will send out MIDI program changes which you can choose here, but I don't want that. So I'm just going to put this into 0. It says there, if you don't want SampleRobot to send program changes, set MIDI program to 0. So I'm going for that and press next. The sampling range, that's the number of keys, 5 octaves on my Prophet X. And next, and velocity layers, and the default setting is 1. And I told you in the intro I wanted 4 velocity layers here. I think that's a good compromise when sampling this electric piano patch from the TX-802. Go for next. And as I also told you in the beginning, I want to multi-sample this. And the 6 steps between each sampled note is fine with me. If I was sampling into an old sampler, I would probably only sample 1 note in total and just capitalize on that old sampler's artifacts like aliasing, grit, and pitch stretching, etc. Get that sound from that old sampler. Here I'm sampling for a live library, and I pretty much want the sampled sound to sound like the original through each octave. So a multi-sampling session here is what I want. So again, a nice compromise here is 6 steps between each sampled note. So let's go for the default setting. And the note length, well, 2.5 seconds is not enough for this electric piano. I'm going for 10. It says that it's 25 seconds for pianos recommended, but this piano sound has a natural, pretty fast decay, so I don't need 25 seconds for each sampled note. So let's go for 10. I don't need any release length at all here. Next, again, this is a piano sound I'm sampling right now, not a string or a pad sound, so I don't need any looping at all. So I'll set auto loop to off. That's also the default setting. Next, and that's it. So let's press finish and see what happens. And it's waiting now for me to start recording. I'm going to leave all these default settings as they are. And I can see it's put up this test project here. With a name. It's set up the 4 velocity layers. I'm pretty sure I can change these if I want to, but for now let's go for the default velocity levels here, 31, 63, 95, and 127. That sounds fine to me right now. And the audio out device is set to that Audient USB audio ASIO driver. And I assume the MIDI out is going as I chose it in the project wizard. So let's press start and see what happens. Giving me some info here. Recording starts. Okay, so it's coming out here. I can see the audio levels. Here are the keys, which are going to be sampled. And when I now look at the Yamaha DMP7 and the TX-802 for that matter, I can see that it responds to MIDI messages coming from SampleRobot. I can see the meters on the DMP7 reaches up for each note it receives for each of the levels. And everything seems to be out order. So all we have to do now is sit back and relax and watch this progress bar reaches 100%. And we're finally coming to an end here. I watched this go through each of these steps in 4 different velocity layers. We're coming now to that, to the last 2 keys. We can see those in green here. So SampleRobot is definitely doing its job in terms of making this as easy as possible. And that's it. We're done. And file name, let's save that. And here we have the samples. This is at maximum velocity. Let's go for the 95. 63. Nice. And 31. Nice. So, I guess that's it. I'm not going for any loop points here. I'm not looping this sound. So all we'll do now is go for the import-export menu and export selected project as. And here you can see all the different formats you can export your multi-samples or samples into. Montage, WAV files, of course, Bitwig, sound font, Halion, EXS24, the Giga Studio, I remember that one, emulator, Modu, Contact, of course, Blofeld, and what I'm interested in is the, they're the Quantum as well, but I'm interested in the Prophet X, so I'll go for that one. And 48 kilohertz, 16-bit stereo. It says I have to put this on the root folder of my USB device, etc., etc. I know all this. And let's go for OK. And let's put it in the same spot, SampleRobot projects. Yeah, the Prophet X has a sort of peculiar hierarchy in terms of file structure. You have to put it into a category first, and these are keyboard sounds. User bank, you can have 31 or 32 because it starts at 00. The program number, etc., etc. Let's go for, I think I have some in the Prophet X from before, so let's go for 10. The user bank 0 is okay. Name part, TX802, electric piano. I'm not actually sure what the differences are between name part 1 and name part 2, but I'll just name them the same. And this will be saved as a zip file, which I can then import into my Prophet X through the USB import port at the back of the Prophet X. So let's press save here, and it's making everything ready for me in a Prophet X format. So I can just import it, and all the velocity layers, etc. should be intact. And let's put this onto the USB stick. Just run it into the Prophet X. And here is the multi-sample installed into the Prophet X. I've added some reverb from the Prophet X. Here's a simpler variation of the patch with no velocity. And here's a dual-layered wide stereo variation of the patch with lots of reverb from the Prophet X. Well, the conclusion is just as fast and easy as SampleRobot itself. This is the program to use for me going forward. Thanks for watching. I'm Espen Kraft. Cheers.